Hi, everyone, and welcome to Jehovah Boy. I'm your host, Doug Smith. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you all for your continued support of the show. We can't do this without you and your support, so thank you for your continued listenership. We are now on episode 14, and I don't know if we were even going to make it this far when we started out. I had no idea what to expect, but you guys seem to be into it. I'm into it. I want to keep doing this, but I do need your continued support. So please tell a friend, share a clip, feed the algorithm. We all know the algorithm is the one true God. I wish that wasn't true. I hate to say it. It pains me to say it, but it seems to be the case. So please, all praises be to the almighty algo. Let's feed that beast. Rate, review, subscribe. I hate telling you to do this as much as you hate hearing me say it, but it is a necessary evil. We can't keep doing this without growing this thing and your continued support. So if you're listening right now, you're doing your thing. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My guest today is a great dude. I was really happy to get him on the show. Mike Finoia, fellow Connecticut boy, comedian, podcaster, hilarious dude. We both grew up with parents terrified of the devil. Different religious affiliations, but still a morbid fear of demon possession. And we talk about music being our portal to the outside world, despite the fact that it was closely monitored by our parents, and we both had some forbidden CDs that went straight into the garbage. Mike discovered the Grateful Dead at a young age, which was a band that I was very much discouraged from listening to due to their use of drugs and the use of skulls in their imagery. The only Grateful Dead I was familiar with was the 144,000. But Mike, at this point in his life, through some really intensive, meaningful psychedelic experiences, is now hosting a podcast with the bass player from the Dead. And the guests that he's talking to are leading experts in the field of psychedelics. So this guy has created a life for himself that must be extremely surreal. It's pretty awesome. Follow your dreams, kids. Sometimes they do come true. But the podcast that he hosts is called Comes a Time. Give it a listen. It's fantastic. And he has a new special coming out this September, dropping on his YouTube channel called Don't Let Me Down. So keep an eye out for that. All the links for these will be in the episode description. But for now, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Mike Finoia. This is Jehovah's Day. Mike Finoia, what's going on, buddy?
Hi, Doug. How are you, pal?
Good to see you, man. I'm doing good.
It's good to see you. I'm great. I'm honored to be here with you on this podcast that I love listening to.
Do you really?
I do, and I'll tell you. You said something during your AMA, which I always thought it was MMA as well. But your take on the New Haven Coliseum kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Yes, fellow Connecticut boy.
Yep.
Fellow
Constitution State kid. And I happen to love, what did you call it, an atrocity, I believe, New Haven Coliseum. My first concert ever was there.
Who'd you see?
Bon Jovi and Skid Row. Skid Row opened for Jovi. And I think it was like 86 or 7 or something. I went with my first wife. And no, I'm kidding. My uncles brought me. I was 7. And then I used to go to tons of New Haven Nighthawks games.
Okay.
And I used to play knee hockey in the corridors and stuff. But yeah, and then I saw my first Fish concert there, which was a big deal. New Haven 95.
I mean, I'm sure it's great if your only connotation with it is not being subject to 8 hours of brainwashing.
That's true. I thought about that. Well, it was 5 hours of brainwashing at the Fish concert, but it's true. I thought about it afterwards in that context, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't have church at New Haven Coliseum because it probably would have ruined it.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember looking around because they had the who was the hockey team? The Nighthawks?
Nighthawks.
Yeah, I remember seeing the I don't know. I'm not a sports guy. The fucking banners hanging from the rafters.
Yeah.
Be like, man, if only I was here next week to see something that would actually be enjoyable.
It was like the movie Slapshot for anybody who didn't grow up with like just fights before the whistle. I remember when they tried to save that place, Doug, and they had a football team called the New Haven Ninjas. It's like the arena football, and I think they let everybody in free. And it was like, beers this big for like $3. And every time a team scored, they would throw little mini footballs into the crowd. And the score was like 96-80. So by like the end of the game, like everyone was wasted and had mini footballs, and we were just like rifling them at the players and at like the umpires and stuff. I think that was the last time they ever played.
That was it.
I think it was one and done. Yeah.
So wait, was Bon Jovi your first concert? That was your first concert?
Yeah, I think that I can remember.
What year was that?
86 or 7. I think my dad brought me maybe to see The Who when I was like a little kid, like baby, don't even remember it, but I don't know. That was the first one I remember, was Jovi.
Did you know that, I'm sure you've seen this because you do enough road work, I'm sure you would have passed it. You know that Bon Jovi has a rest stop on is it the Garden State
I passed it the other day. Yeah.
Named after him? I don't know if I would want that. I don't know if I would want to get that level where a rest stop is named after me.
I really kind of feel bad for the people who get the Jersey rest areas named after them, because I think that's when things getting named after you stops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the researchers are like, I don't think we can do anything else Vince Lombardi, because he's got a rest area named after him. Yeah, like, I don't know. You work all that, living on a prayer. You write living on a prayer and Wanted Dead or Alive, and you get like a Papagino's.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I'm sure it's just the ultimate dad joke, too. Every time a family rolls in there, a dad just has to belt out, "Whoa, we're halfway there."
That's so funny. We'll be here for you. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
but that's Jersey. That they really know how to take care of their own,
They do. Jesus. All right, so why are you a fan of the BAF podcast? I need some flattery here, because I'm happy to know that there's some fans out there. I know there's a few, but I'm happy to know that other comics listen to it as well.
Well, I think because I'm a fan of you, and
what
it's
a
like
sweetheart.
This isn't your 12th podcast. This is like your first, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm probably gonna go on my 13th soon, but I like you, and I like that. Right off the bat, it was quality, you know what I mean? And it's autobiographical, and it's also inquisitive, and like you care about the answers, it seems.
Yeah.
It's not just coming on and yelling and whatever. It's like you learn about people when you listen to it. I think that's really neat, and it kind of got me thinking about some of my stuff. And I was like, damn, like, yeah, this is really interesting. And it's cool to know. I think we all go through these things that we think we're going through alone. And then you hear other people's stories of life and upbringing and whatever, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not completely nuts or alone or whatever,
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got a good voice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what? No, that means the world to me, because, dude, I remember, I don't know about you, but like, are we the same age? I'm 40.
I'm 43.
43. Okay. So growing up the time that we did, I think the only time that you would hear your own voice, my first time hearing my own voice was leaving a message on my friend's answering machine. When I think I was like, because we didn't have this, there was no social media, there was no immediate playback of your voice. I remember hearing my voice on my friend's answering machine when I was like 12, and it fucking wrecked me, dude, for like a month. I was like, that's what I sound like. I sound special needs. And I have I don't know how or why, because we grew up in Connecticut, which is, I don't think people think of Connecticut as having a distinct accent, but right. I have had people make the fucking weirdest guesses about where I'm from.
Me too.
I had a Texan ask me what part of Texas I was from.
Really?
And I was like, I just have a drawl. I don't know if I had a head injury that I don't remember. I don't know why I have a drawl that would make you think that.
Yeah. But when I moved to Denver, everybody thought I was from Long Island.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh, that stings.
I know. Yeah, definitely. I was like, bite your tongue. But no, you sound great. And I do remember the first time, because I had a little tape recorder. I always wanted to be like a newscaster or like a sports journalist or something as a kid.
Yeah.
Such a dorky thing. We used to like write up, like I used to write up review, like hockey game, like post game stuff and bring it to school and like trade them with my, like another kid. And like he would review like the Canadiens game and I'd review the Whalers game. And then we would like record it on tapes and bring it in, like pretending to be like on ESPN. It's another Connecticut institution. So
sure.
I remember hearing myself for the first time being like, who is that? Like, I sound so weird.
Yeah.
I still feel like that watching tape. Like now we have to kind of watch our sets and stuff because we have to post it all. But one person told me the nicest thing about my podcast. He goes, I fall asleep to your podcast all the time. And I thought that was the sweetest thing anyone's ever said, because that means I don't have like a horrifically unbearable, you know what I mean? Like
yes.
I fall asleep to some of my favorite music. And like, that was like, oh, cool. Like if you could fall asleep to me, then that means you could tolerate me.
Yeah.
You know,
I had somebody tell me the same thing and my initial reaction was, ooh, but then I was like, yeah, that's not so bad. That's not so bad.
No, it's nice.
You can't say it about these positives. There's 4 comedians screaming over each other and trying to big dick each other with,
right,
with the best line, which those have their place too, but they're not, they're not soothing.
No, that's more for like when you're in traffic.
That's what I love about the fact, that Joe Pera has a podcast called, I think it's called Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I love
which is
them.
Perfect. I mean, It's so perfect.
Yeah, no, totally. I like learning about people, and that's why I like this one, because it's, content-wise, it goes deep,
That's the goal, man. That's the goal. Yeah. Some good
and
old trauma
that starts
bonding.
with Ari, I'm gonna listen to. That's my man.
Yeah, he was a good first get. But you messaged me early on telling me that your dad, you said, my dad almost converted to Jehovah's Witnesses. Jeez, with like 14 E's. So let's get into your origin story.
Okay. All right. I don't even know if that was like, I just, in listening to the way when you told me what it was, and I think it was like the level of devotion to the belief, in a thing that kind of like, it's funny looking back on him and us and whatever, and realizing I think I kind of like grew up with my parents. They had me when they were in their late teens, and then they like kind of took a break from each other for about 8 years, then got back together and remarried. I was the ring bearer in their weddings. And
in their second marriage?
Yeah. There's a picture of me in like a little tux. Like, the fuck is this? And then they had 3 more kids. So my siblings are like 7, 9, and 12 years younger than me, I think. 8, 10, and 12 years, something like that. So they're all in like a pocket, and I'm like kind of third parent / like weird older dude living in the house. I felt like I was like, I'm like 9 and I got like a cup of black coffee in the want ads, and I'm like, I got a pack of smokes, find a job, like grew up quick.
I got a pack of lunch for the youngest.
I'm like, tie your shoes. No, it was so they grew up kind of like different than me, but I think my parents kind of grew up with me, or whatever. I grew up with them. And my dad, like, just on a dime, like, we always had like Catholicism in our family, but it was just that kind of like, go to church on Saturday night before going to get pizza kind of thing. And like, hey, how you doing? They're here. Hey, like more the social part of church. You knew the words, you said peace, and that was it. But my old man got like heavy duty into like Catholicism, to the sense of like lost books of the Revelation, and like there were people who like had visions of like I think in Medjugorje and Fatima there were people who had like visions of the Virgin Mary, who like told them when the world was going to end. Like Mary told them like it's going to end on this date or whatever. But like I'm like, tell me, like, come on, like if you know, and he's like, no, we can't know, but it's going to happen soon. And it's like, what kind of bullshit? Like, tell us, you know what I mean? Like, if you love us, be like, clean up your, hard drives by this date, But it was just this odd thing of kind of like, it was all like super heavy all at once, all at a lot of change in my life, where it was kind of like, you know, I was going through my rebellious stuff and I was going through my questioning everything kind of stuff. And religion just all of a sudden was like the most important thing in our life. And like, it really wasn't to me. I had so many questions, but I felt like a lot of it was sort of like, don't ask questions. That's just faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was the part that I always had a problem with. And it was this sort of like, I don't know. It's I've poked holes in a lot of it.
So did he come around to this once your siblings were born? Is that when it happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Again, you know, it's funny. I try to like parallel the two lives, like mine and his or mine and theirs, you know, and it's like they had 4 kids by the time they were 30, you know, and like that's bananas to me. Like at 29, I was like, I think I'm going to try stand up, you know, and like, and so it's a whole different concept of like, you know, but at the time, yeah, I think it all kind of happened right around when they were all born, I believe. But we had this kind of like, all of a sudden I had to be like an altar boy. I had to, you know, have these conversations with my folks about like, you know, I'm just standing there in the living room kind of like, I want to go play football or I want to go ride my bike or smoke cigarettes or whatever, you know, and it's just this like, you know, Isaiah said in the, you know, 5th book or whatever that, you know, the tiger shall one day find the sheep or whatever. And I'm like, the fuck does that like, huh? Like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, I have like NWA and the Posse like on a blank tape, but it says like Aerosmith's greatest hits, like just so I don't get caught with like gangster rap, you know, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm ready to go kind of do, it seemed like a little too late for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't buy into it. I was kind of just like, I know you guys before this.
It seems like, not to psychoanalyze you, but I can't help because my wife is a therapist and there's definitely been some runoff, or your parents. But it seems like if they had you that young, they were in their late teens when they had you.
Yeah. 18, 19.
Late teens when they had you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they probably were still trying to figure shit out, of course. I mean, that's a child. And then eventually they probably got to a point where they were like, we need to do right by this guy. We need to do... I was just talking to somebody else about this the other day about like, you know, when you become a parent, you are so vulnerable. You feel like you're wearing your heart outside of your body and you're like, what can we do to protect this child at all costs, even as fucking deranged and crazy the lengths that you may go to. So they might have been like, all right, we got to lean hard into this. You know, we had them young. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were twiddling our thumbs. Let's lean hard into this. And maybe that'll, you know, serious overcompensation. Right. I think that's what, and we have a opposite situation too. So you were the oldest by far out of you know, there was a second grouping and I'm the youngest by far. And because there was a crop before me. So my siblings were 18, 16 and 14 when I was born. So it was like I grew up with like 5 parents, you know, 2 of which were out of the house by the time I was 5 years old, you know? Very weird. And then they leaned hard into it with me.
You know,
they leaned really hard into it with me because they were like, all our other kids are out. They came to their senses. They realized this is horse shit. So let's really hone in on this one and make sure he doesn't slip through our fingers.
I hear what you're saying, and I wonder about that too. Like the whole, you know, I think that it went from the thing that was hard. I think for me, in retrospect, and I agree with you. I do think that, like, you know, you have kids and it's sort of like, as you have more, you probably know what not to do again, maybe, you know what I mean? And I think that with this, for me, it was just such a drastic, like the albums that my dad and I would like, I looked for anything to connect with him on, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was basically like UConn basketball and Led Zeppelin records. And, you know, and The Who, and I would like sit up in my room and just listen to this vinyl and memorize the lyrics and then like kind of go like, oh, I could talk to him about this. I could talk to him about that. Like, I wonder what, like, you know, when the levee breaks, like what levee, like what it, you know, like just anything to kind of like spark a conversation with this dude. And then all of the sudden, he made me watch a video, like a VHS tape, about how there was like all satanic messages in all of the albums that like I was listening to with him like months ago. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, that's the one thing I kind of like enjoyed about like our whatever connection, you know? And now it's like, and all that vinyl, it just melted in the garage. Like, he just put it in the garage and it just turned to like a pile of shit. Like, they're gone. And it was like an unbelievable record collection. But it was like, to me, it was like all of a sudden this like turn on a dime thing where I'm like, everything got extremely serious, extremely fast. And it was just this kind of like, we need to focus on, you know, church groups and for constant confession and just guilt and fear and the whole 9 yards at like, you know, late elementary school, middle school. Before that, it was just kind of like, you know, sexy Jesus on the wall. Like, you know, that kind of grandmother Jesus that was kind of like chiseled chin and like a nicely trimmed beard and like hair falling on the shoulders, you know, like that was Jesus. Like, it was like, okay, seems like a nice dude. Now it's like, you got to be petrified of this fucking, that guy's going to get you, you know? And I was like,
he went from himbo. He went from a real himbo to a punishing, vengeful. Yeah.
Once he gets that fifth stone, dude, like it's over, you know? And I just kind of felt, you know, a lot of this, if I questioned it, it almost kind of was like this sort of like, who do you think you are to question this, you know, like I always had this thought of like, and I wonder if maybe someone else said it to you once. There's a guy in, you know, I don't know, some island, Bora Bora, like Japan, somewhere in the 1300s, 1200s, grew up in a community, died in that community, never heard of Jesus, never heard the name Jesus. He's going to go to hell? Like, I don't understand that. Like, that made no sense to me. And it was like, if you're not totally on board with this cat, like, you're going to hell. He could have literally, like, grew food and fed his whole community, but he's like, I didn't do it in the name of Jesus Christ. So he's, you know, sorry. But
yes,
it's a life, it's an eternity of damnation.
Yeah, I think about that all the time because Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, as with a lot of Christian organizations, have missionaries. So, like, they believe it's their duty to spread the good word far and wide, you know, to the farthest reaches of the earth and let it be known by everybody, because when Armageddon comes, if you're not a faithful believer, you're going to get nuked. So, like, yeah, I have thought about that very thing, that there are tribes in the Amazon that are completely living off the land, living, honestly, probably the most godly lifestyle imaginable, because they're not destroying the planet. They're not consumed by materialism. They're not fucking jacking off the Pornhub all day. You know, like they are procreating. They're living off the land. They are one with nature. And you mean to tell me that because they are completely remote and doing their own thing, that they're living off the land where people can never reach them and preach to them and spread the good word, that they're that they're doomed.
They're
the bad guy.
And imagine being those people that, like, generation after generation after generation, everything is peaceful. Like, it's not, there's no I in their vernacular. It's us. There's no, like, you know, you hear about some Native American cultures where it's like they had a term for mental illness that was essentially greed. Like, everything. And when people came over and tried to colonize, they were like, oh, they have the mental illness. Like, they're putting up fences where it's like, this is ours. You hear stories of like, anything that I have that can help the weakest in our, you know, community, that's what you did. So imagine living like that in the Amazon, right, for however many hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden these dudes just come running in like with a book and a sword, and they're just like, this is the truth, or I'm going to slice your child's head off. You know, like, what a weird, shocking thing. Like, I never understood the crusade. Like, that was one of the things I would ask too. It's like, why do you want to murder someone if they don't believe what you believe in? And it's like, well, they need to know the truth. And it's like, because of what? And I'm like, well, in John 3, whatever. And I'm like, stop quoting some guy I don't know. Like, have your own thought. That's what I always like when people go to the quote, to the Bible, when people start throwing, the sheep of the thing with the lamb of the this and the that, and then it's like, oh, well, Peter 11:51, like, stop it. Like, have your own original thought. Like, stop quoting these fucking dudes. Like, I hate that. I think we should all just start doing that. Like, when we don't know what we're talking about, we just like make up a thing, like a kind of riddle, and then just go like, yeah, Doug, it's like 2023 November,
Yeah, I think that's the reason that Jehovah's Witnesses have such a little success rate going door to door, is because anytime somebody asks them a question, they're like, well, let's see what the Bible says about this. And then you just immediately see people's eyes glaze over, because it's like, you're not even talking to me as a human being.
Right.
You're talking to me about a book from, a couple thousand years ago. And I'm supposed to take that as universal truth,
Yeah.
It's antiquated, man. It doesn't hold up. And the idea of talking somebody out of, even if it's a belief system, it's one thing if like you're offering hope to somebody that's looking for some sort of saving grace, some sort of a relief from trauma or grief or recovery of some sort. But people that are like happy in their current religion, their current belief system, to be like, you're wrong, you're gonna die, and that's, unfortunately, that's true of, I'd say, most religions. Even if they don't, even if they're not saying you're gonna die, they think that theirs is the truth and everybody else is just, these bumbling idiots better get their heads out of their asses, or
right, totally,
whatever the horrible death awaits them, is they're doomed. They're doomed to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I remember standing there like in a robe holding the book while the priest read the gospel and stuff, and I'm just standing like this close to his feet, the whole like altar boy thing. And he's reading and the whole room is behind me, and I just felt so uncomfortable, and like I don't understand or believe anything that is coming out of this book and out of this guy's mouth. And like, here I am, like a part of the ceremony, you know what I mean? And it just was uncomfortable, and it was itchy, and but I'll tell you the things that I loved about the experience of, faith. We would go to downtown New Haven in this thing called the Midnight Run, and we would like feed homeless people, and we would like bring food and stuff. And that to me felt real. That to me felt like, oh yeah, we're actually like doing something. We're not just sitting around talking. Like action, and we're like, the hypocrisy of it all is like, I think what bugs me the most, and not about my family in particular, but just like religion or politics or whatever. It's like, walk the walk, like, let's go down to, feed people or take care of animals or nature and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's the stuff that, if I believe in anything, I think it's that. But I just would stand there in the middle of this mass and have to like recite things. And if I didn't recite it, it was almost like you got in trouble. It was like people were watching, kind of, Yeah. And it was just this like conformity. And I hated it. I hated every minute of it, And like, we had to get in, we were like in a church group, like our family would go hang out with other families. And like, you had to kind of like, it was almost like making a softball team. Like, you had to like come up with a name and like make t-shirts and shit. And like, I think we were like the Faith Seekers or something. And we had t-shirts with like our family name. And I just remember like, I'm getting into chicks.
You reach for a pop fly with your eyes closed. You're like, God will put it in my mitt. I do believe.
I felt myself come off the ground and catch that ball and steal that home run. Yeah, we were in it, man. And it was like I didn't want anything to do with it. Like, it was just a very, and I think it was a coming into that age thing. And I look at it now, like my siblings all have some form of organized religion in their life. And I don't. And I think it was like that thing of kind of, maybe I was like, seeing it from like a little bit older and sort of like, I don't believe this. It's just like, all of a sudden we're going to speak German in my house. Like, why? Like, we've been speaking English all this time. Like, what the hell? Like, you can't just flip it on me like that. Like, I want to go listen to The Who. Like, I want to go listen to David Bowie. Like, I don't get this,
Yeah, you were ultimately powerless as a kid. You know,
Yep.
What power do you have? And yet you're listening to NWA at the time, and you want to be like, "Fuck the parents," but what's that going to do? You're just going to get grounded. It's like church or sit in my room for a month. You know,
exactly.
Although I guess getting grounded's probably better, but yeah, dude, I know what you mean, man. Like my parents. Same thing, very, very strict parameters on what I was able to take in terms of entertainment.
Yeah.
And so it made it that much more desirable. It was like forbidden fruit. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Like I had the quickest fucking trigger finger this side of the Mississippi when it came time to like flip the channel when I was watching MTV. You know, I just lived on that shit. It was like, that was like my education. That was my portal to the outside world. Like from a very, very early age. And I had older siblings, so I constantly had that trickle down in terms of, you know, music was more my thing than anything else. And just like this hunger for it, because it showed me what was outside and like this alternative lifestyle to what I was being raised in, and people being expressive and people leaning into their individuality, what made them unique and stand out, and leaning into their emotions and creativity and imagination. It was like, oh my God, that's attainable. It's right there. It was like that. It was, I know this sounds crazy, but that was like looking at God to me. I remember when I Woodstock 94, I was 11 years old.
Yep.
I remember going to a Jehovah's Witness party while it was being broadcast on MTV, and sneaking up to my friend's parents' bedroom and putting on MTV so I could watch Woodstock 94 while this party was 11 years old. You know, that's pretty young to be like craving that, you know?
I mean,
and like watching Porno for Pyros, singing Pets, and like the connection Perry Farrell had with the audience. I was like, I want that someday.
He's like, have you ever seen the crop circles?
Yeah, I know. I watch it now. I'm like, this guy's off his fucking rocker. But at the time I was like, this guy's my hero.
My bedroom, my bedroom growing up was like, we had to have a crucifix in like every room, right? So my walls were covered with Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, skeletons smoking joints. I was enamored. My religion, I'm like you, I worship music. Music is to me God. Like, just like how you said, like, I literally have had the most profound, like, transformative experiences with music. I have to leave music on in rooms, like, that I leave. So when I come back, like, I come back to music playing. Like, I need music. And the Grateful Dead was my first true love. Like, I fell madly in love with that music and the iconography and the art and the mysticism of it all. And I never got to see them because Garcia died when I was 15, 95, August 95. I was 15, but I went to my first Fish concert, New Haven Coliseum. My buddy that I traded Grateful Dead tapes with gave me a Fish tape. And that was like my little Narnia, my, like, you know, Lord of the Rings. And I got heavy duty into that religious fanaticism kind of way too, a little bit. So, like, I look at, again, it's fun to look back, and hindsight's 20/20, and I can understand how people can fall into, you know, whatever. But there was even, like, you know, I got so deep into Fish and that scene, following them around the country for like weeks at a time, and like living in my car, and, you know, like going to shows and selling food and selling drugs, whatever, just to get to the next show. And like, there's no difference than, I mean, I was going to mass every night, you know what I mean? Like, but there were religious groups, one called the 12 Tribes of Israel, that had a big brown school bus that would sit in the parking lot of the Fish shows. And if people were too spun out or too, like, you know, tripping and walking through the parking lot, they'd kind of be like, come on the bus. And then those people would just kind of, like, you know, maybe go missing, and, you know, like, they would just live on the bus. Like, it was like this weird, don't go on the bus was like, you know, that was real. But I thought about that quite a bit, and like religious terms where it's like, I try not to push, like, my music's my music, and if you don't like it, that's totally okay. I don't want you to come with me to Madison Square Garden and see Phish if you're going to hate it, and I have to sit there and explain it to you like it's, episode 9 of season 6 of my favorite show, and you're like, I don't know who these characters are. This is why
this is good. You got to believe me. Yeah.
You got to love it. And it's like, no, you don't.
I had a couple friends that were really into, and I don't hate Phish. I have not done a deep dive on them. I will say this: the song "Fee" is probably in my top 20 songs of all time, and I have not done a deep dive on their other music, but I fucking love that song.
I'm glad you like that song.
I'm not a huge jam band guy, but I've had friends over the years that are in that. So I've gone to see like Humphreys McGee and like Keller Williams and like I went to a Phish New Year's show, and I had a good time, man. And even if I wasn't directly digging the music, I enjoyed so much watching how much everybody else was geeking out on it.
Yeah.
Just watching all these, new age hippies just noodle dancing and just blissed out. I was like, these people are in fucking ecstasy right now.
Yeah,
this is cool to witness.
And it was just like seeing people, like that was the thing that like the minute the lights dropped at New Haven Coliseum and like the millisecond the lights dropped, the crowd just went like, and everybody like leaned forward, and the lights were like mind blowing. And I'm 15, you know what I mean? Like, I would go see minor league hockey games with my, the circus was at New Haven Coliseum, whatever, you know what I mean? And here I am, like this room transformed into like, I don't know, like you said, watching people twirl and do like almost out of body shit, And then I'm like, this is neat. But I wonder what, like, I went 100, couple hundred shows later, I'm like, whatever, I still see them, but I think about that kind of like religious thing, like,
Sure. I had the fear of God put in me about mostly stuff surrounding bands that had any sort of link to the occult. So like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. I came to Black Sabbath later, but Led Zeppelin was, what teenager doesn't have an attraction to Led Zeppelin? You know what I mean? That's like many teenagers' first go-to in terms of classic rock. Right. And my mom would be like, you can't listen to that. Jimmy Page bought Aleister Crowley's estate. And it's like, how do you know who either of those people are? It was like she did recon missions on corruption and what could possibly fuck up her kid. So I was truly convinced that if I was to put on a Led Zeppelin album, I would be possessed by the devil.
Dude.
Completely convinced.
I had the exact same thing, and it was like, you can't listen to this music. And this, like, remember like the like guy that had like the lantern and like Led Zeppelin for like that, like I swore that was the devil. And also same. I would go through my parents' yearbook, and my mom's quote was like, if the sun refused to shine, I would still be loving you. Like if mountains crumble to the sea, there would still be you and me, Led Zeppelin. And I'm like, I thought Led Zeppelin was going to make me go to hell. Like, how come it's your quote from that's your quote in the yearbook, but I can't listen to it. Like, and I wanted to ask you, when you first like went to a party at your friend's house, or there was like you're in the car and you're with other people outside of your family and Stairway to Heaven comes on, you want to like jerk the wheel and save everybody, right? Because you're like, oh shit, we're all going to hell because Dennis has the freaking, you know what I mean? Like 4 Sticks is on. And I literally thought like I was going to go to hell and I ended up having to, and I'm embarrassed as shit about this, but there were times where I would preach to like my friends or their parents about the shit that like my parents were putting in my head. And I'm like, do you know about like how if you play this backwards, it says like Satan has the key to the lock and all this, and they're just like, the fuck? And then I was like, I'm just kidding. And kind of like sat quietly and like would pray. So like I couldn't hear you know what I mean? Like the lyrics to these songs that were going to kill me. I'm like, if I'm diligent, then I won't go to hell,
Sure, yeah. I mean, I was big into classic rock radio, and anytime Stairway to Heaven, especially, anytime that would come on, I would be breaking the ankles, tripping over myself, tripping over furniture to try to, flip the dial. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. And another reason I was convinced that there was an element of truth to actual demon possession was my sister, who was still at home because she was only 14 years older than me. Her room was we had a finished basement, and she had a Star Wars kite. It was like one of those 4-sided box kites, and it had like an image of various characters on each side. So like Skywalker on one, Darth Vader, Han Solo. I think Chewbacca was another one. And I remember the look in Luke Skywalker's eye scared the shit out of me. It just gave me bad fucking vibes. And I was terrified to go down to her room as long as this kite was around. So I would call down from the top of the stairs. I'd be like, "Can you put the kite away? Is the kite away?"
Wow.
Can you put the kite away? Yeah, no problem. She was really sweet about it. And I just like, I couldn't look at this thing. It just creeped the fuck out of me. It just made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And then one time my sister had a friend of hers over, another Jehovah's Witness girl, and the friend came storming up the stairs in the middle of the night, screaming because she saw this. She woke up and she saw this kite floating across the room. And she came up the stairs, storming up the stairs, screaming, and my dad jumped out of, "What the fuck's going on?" Runs downstairs, and she's like, that kite's floating across the room. And I'm standing there in my fucking Spider-Man boxer shorts. I'm like, I told you that thing was possessed. I knew it. And my dad was like, that's it. And in the middle of the night, he took the kite. He's in his fucking tighty whities, slips on his boat shoes, and in the middle of the night, drags, I don't know why, he had like an aluminum trash can in the garage that we used to keep our trash in. He took all the recycling out of it. He dragged this aluminum trash can in the middle of the woods, stuffed the kite in there, and set it on fire and burned this thing in the middle of the night. And I was like, oh, that's only going to make him angrier. That's a bad idea.
And here comes the fire department of the soul. Put out that fire. Dude, he had an occult kite burning kit. It was just like a metal can, and if that's like Ned Flanders. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was so deep rooted in all of us. So that was like, this is legitimate. This is legitimate. Their demon possession is real. The devil is looking to infiltrate me in whatever way he can. All these temptations, I have to stay away from them. You know?
Dude, it's so interesting. All of that resonates so much with me, where like there was a skateboarder named Nodus Copus, and his first name backwards is Satan. And I remember like I had pictures of like, you know, that was another phase of like things on my wall was like skateboarders and stuff. And he was like, look at this, like you don't see it. And I had to like look at it in the mirror, and I'm like, yeah.
Holy fuck. Real Red Rum moment, huh?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, and it's like skateboarding was the devil, and you know, Barney and Teletubbies and like all of that like was totally off limits for like my siblings. Like I was older than that, but you know, David the Gnome and like all these, like anything that fell in that kind of like all like new agey kind of like public television somehow was like the devil and evil and all that. But I totally understand what you're saying, where it's like I would see the devil in like I recognized evil in things, and I was just kind of like, but I was so embarrassed to like tell my friends and shit, you know what I mean? And I'm glad that was kind of like middle school, early elementary to like middle school. And then the minute high school hit, I just drowned myself in sports and music and anything I could do to just like get the hell out of that. I was a kid that slept over my buddy's houses. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, yeah, let's stay up and listen to Led Zeppelin and drink and play, you know, PlayStation or whatever until, you know, wee hours. But it was just this like, I don't know. And I'm fascinated by religion and faith and belief and stuff, but I'm just so turned off by this like innate fear and fear of everything. Like fear ruins a lot of lives, I think. You know what I mean? Like this kind of fear of the unknown or anything that isn't exactly what you believe is evil and wrong. I look back and I'm kind of like, yeah, Led Zeppelin wasn't. Remember the song by Sabbath, War Pigs, when they would go like, Satan laughing spreads his wings?
Sure.
like I would sing that song, but skip the word Satan. Like I would go, laughing spreads his way. Because I feel like if I said it, then I was going to like summon this demon. And I'm like, you know, looking back, I'm like, wow, I was just filled to the brim with just irrational fear.
Yeah. I remember trying to find all these loopholes with Sabbath too. Like I got really into Sabbath, like even more so than Led Zeppelin. I bought all their albums, skipped over Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, because the cover of that one is like the most, you know,
terrifying,
occultish imagery imaginable. 666, the devil is on the cover. I was like, all right, I just won't listen to that one, but the other ones are fine. But my fear of you know, demon possession was so deep rooted that like eventually I was like, all right, I get scared every time I listen to the stuff I really want to listen to. It's now trickled down to every band. I'm now wondering if every classic rock band has some sort of affiliation with the occult. So when I was 15, I got so into rap music that it just dominated everything. That's all I listened to.
Cool.
And that was even an even bigger no-no, just because of the, you know, the language and the cursing and the rebellion.
Right.
So I would buy all these CDs. Like my sister would take me to the mall and I would buy all these CDs and have to sneak them home. I remember I bought DMX, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which I don't know if you remember the cover for that. Still to this day, even by today's standards, a horrifying cover. It's just him standing in front of a white background, just drenched in blood, shirtless.
It was terrifying,
drenched in blood. And my sister was like, "You sure you want to get that?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fucking rules." And I did love it, but I was like, if mom finds this, I'm gonna look like DMX. She's gonna fucking gut me like a pig.
Oh, dude. Totally.
So like, I had a stack, and I was working after school. Like I had after school job money, so all my money went toward buying CDs. That's what I've sunk all my money into. So I had a whole stash of rap CDs. This was when they all had parental advisory stickers on them. I had them stashed away in my closet behind like a stack of shirts. And then one weekend, I went to some theme park. It was like this Jehovah's Witness kind of field trip thing. I went to this theme park with a bunch of J-dubs, and I came back, and we had like a family Bible study every week. So not only did we have 3 meetings a week at the Kingdom Hall, in addition to reading the Bible every day and knocking on doors every weekend, but we also had Monday nights was our family Bible study where me, my mom, and my dad would sit down and read from some publication and discuss it as a family. And I remember my dad had his Bible and his coffee waiting for him. My mom had her Bible and her coffee. And I remember looking under my mom's Bible and seeing some index cards. And I was like, those look familiar. And I picked up the Bible and they were index cards. I was so obsessed with hip hop that I used to write down the lyrics of songs that I wanted to memorize.
Yeah.
So I had written down the lyrics to Slick Rick, Lottie Dottie. I don't know if you know that song.
Of course. Yeah. I love Slick Rick.
So the end of that song is all about like this girl that he's into, her mom hitting on him. And it's like, he's like, I said I'm 19. She said, stop lying. I said I am. Go ask my mother. And with that wrinkled pussy, I can't be your lover. That's how the song ends. Yeah. So I had written down every line of this song, you know, word by word. Yeah. And my mom had found that, and she had them there, like ready to confront me at this family Bible study. And dude, to this day, the sickest I have ever fucking felt in my life. Just
I can only imagine.
Just wait. It was like 10 minutes to 7. I knew that our family Bible study started at 7. She kept it cool all day long. Did not drop any hints that I was about to get fucking obliterated. And then she picked up the note cards and she read it out loud to me. She was like,
"Oh my God.
I cleaned your room while you were away this weekend." And she read the entire. And I was like, "Please stop, please stop." And she was like, "Nope." And she continued. She read every word for the duration of the song. And it was, dude, it was like the kind of humiliation where your dick disappears inside your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like
your whole body's hot.
Yeah.
And at the end you go, I can't be your lover. Like you just like sing along with her.
It was almost like she took it personally. It was like, he's not talking about your pussy, right?
Yeah. Dude, I cannot believe that like, so they were ready to, so what happened? How did you like,
dude, I was a sobbing mess and I was like, I'm sorry. I know it's bad. I've been so bad. Why can't I just be like these other Jehovah's Witnesses that are able to abstain from just using all the terminology, you know, like truly brainwash, you know?
Yeah.
Why aren't I able to abstain from things that bring reproach upon Jehovah's name? I promise I'll do better. I promise I'll practice more godly devotion. Just completely like castrating myself in front of her, just tears streaming down my face. And she was like, I know you're listening to this stuff. I know you have CDs that you shouldn't have. And I just sang like a canary. I was like, I got them all. They're all upstairs in my room. She's like, I want you to bring them all downstairs and I want you to throw them in the garbage. And I was like, but please. It's like all my after school job money is like $400 worth of CDs. She's like, I don't care. It's filth. I don't want you listening to it. It's corrupting you. It's poisoning your brain. And I want you to dump all of your bad CDs. And so I went up there and I saved like a couple. There was a couple.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style, Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers.
Right.
There was a couple that I was like,
this is art. This is art. This is not. Yeah.
That I could not part with. But like I just like I filled up like a whole like a milk crate full of CDs and just remember standing in the garage, tears streaming down my face, just dumping them into a trash can.
Was it that same Jedi trash can?
Yeah, that same one that the fucking kite was burned in. Yeah, that trash can saw pure evil.
That trash can's just like looking at the other trash cans like, what the fuck, dude? Why me?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Oh my God. That's a lot of guilt as a child, and I know it. I know it all too well. Like I used to listen to, I had headphones on constantly. My whole childhood, I always had headphones on, and I remember, you know, I'd have the Beatles 67 to 70, but really it was like NWA and the Posse, or like, you know, Ice Cube, like America's Most Wanted. And I remember I was singing, do you know Doing Dumb Shit? Ice Cube. It's like an unbelievable song. Yeah. And I was, I didn't know my mom was behind me. And I was like, when I was young, I used to hang with the 7th graders, little bad motherfucker playing Space Invaders, like fucking with the girls in the 4th grade, you know, like just singing it. And she was behind me and she's like, what are you listening to? And I was like, the Beatles. And she, like, you know, cause I knew that's what it said on the tape. And she's like, and she listened to it. We had to listen to it. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, look, I don't know. I'm like, I asked somebody to make me a tape because my house was full of tape. Like music was my whole, just like you, it was like sports and music was, and a lot of the music I liked was, you know, bootlegs, like bootleg tapes, Grateful Dead live at whatever, you know? So I had a ton of those. So all my tapes were blank tapes. So she was used to seeing them around. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought that I lied. I didn't go like, you know, I'm not a good Christian kid. I was just like, lied immediately. I was like, I don't know. I thought that this was supposed to be the Beatles, but like, you know, we all just throw our tapes on the, you know, in a pile and like grab them and listen to them. I just made up some weird like reason why I had somebody else's tape. And I was like, I hate it. I think it's stupid. I was singing it to make fun of it. And she's just like, I don't want you listening to this. And I was like, yeah, all right. But then from that point on, it was like, I made sure not to like, I got so nervous about what else did she see or hear or know that I was doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it was that whole thing of like just that riddled, it's embarrassment, it's shame, it's guilt, and it's like, I let you down. Like that was the thing that I felt. Like I can only imagine how much you felt it in that moment, because it's like, yeah, you let God down, but like you let your mom down, you let your dad, like, and that hurts a ton. Like,
sure, that's someone I can see the disappointment on their face.
Yes. Oh God, it's the worst, dude. And it was always about music. It was always about music. And, you know, drinking was another thing. Like I got caught drinking a couple times when I was like real young. And there was just this look of like, what are we going to do with you? You know? And the next morning having to get up and like, you know, first hangover, but like have to put on like a robe and go stand on the altar and like look out and see them looking at me like, kid's fucking drinking already, you know? Like it's weird shit, man. And that guilt just, I don't know. I had to have moments of, I ended up doing like and I still do like a fair amount of psychedelics. And I always found that like, there's always a moment where I have that kind of like grapple with like 14-year-old me that's kind of like, we still supposed to be feeling guilty? Like, no one told him to punch out, you know? And he's like, are we cool to like, can we listen to Ice Cube? Can we sing it out loud? Can we, you know? And it's just this moment of kind of like making peace with that little kid that felt just like shit about liking anything.
Yeah.
Like literally, I felt weird liking anything because it was like, what are they going to find that's wrong with it? You know?
Exactly. I'm glad you brought up psychedelics. I want to get into that in a second.
Okay.
But like, the thing about that our parents didn't realize is like that level of repression and close monitoring of all our intake of it only makes you want to rebel more, you know?
Right.
It's that forbidden fruit, you know, where if they had just been like, you know, like let it pass by, you know, if I would not have been nearly as obsessed as I was if my mom didn't have such a tight grip on the reins, you know, every CD I bought, combing through the liner notes, you know, reading them aloud to me, just sitting there and embarrassed, hearing my mom like read 9 Inch Nails, like, I want to F you like an animal. I was like, just throw it away. Jesus Christ, just don't ever say that again. You know,
it's the worst.
Like, awful.
It's absolutely the worst, dude.
So that's why, like,
Pearl Jam 10, I had that with my dad, Jeremy. Like he made me throw out the tape. Like I had to pull the tape out of the case, and because he was like, you know, this song, this kid kills himself. Like, what the fuck? That's what I want you listening to. And I'm like, he goes, take it apart. Like, I don't want it. That's not allowed. And I was like, not allowed. Like, come on, man. Like a couple of years ago, you were the guy that had like the most amazing vinyl collection. Like literally, you had like stacks of like shit, dude. Doug, I'm telling you, if I had those records. Oh God! I could have opened a store.
Yeah,
like just amazing old like weird Who and Bowie and fuck, dude. And then like Pearl Jam was bad, and I'm like, bro, if you think this is bad,
you're like, bro, you're making me want to pull a Jeremy right now.
I know. You want me to throw an apple to you and fucking, you know, like I know, but it was horrible. I hear what you're saying. It's just that thing of kind of like. It just made you want more, which is why I love when you and I were talking at the comedy club and you're telling me about how your kid is like discovered metal and he's like a little Ricky Rackman. Like, I love that, dude. Like, that's so cool though, because that's like a thing. I don't know, man, and you get it because we experienced the opposite. A chasm grew between me and my folks because of all of this fear and all of this, no, that's bad, where you're like, sick, dude. You like, Maiden, like, all right, let's give it a whack, you know, like, cool. And he'll go through his phase and then it'll be the next thing and then it'll be the next thing. And as long as you're like sick, you're into something. I see passion in my son's eye, like, you know, great. That's absolutely killer, dude.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not anything that I pushed on him, you know, right. Like I think I told you he listened to like, I was playing Sabbath and then it was like a Spotify channel popped up. And Judas Priest Painkiller started playing, and he perked up. He was like, who's this? And I'd never heard the song before. And I was like, Judas Priest. He was like, can you save this? Can you put this on a playlist? And I was like, yeah, you like this? He's like, I love this. Nice. And it's like one of his favorite songs. And that snowballed into Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, all this shit that I never would have been fucking allowed to listen to. And
so
it's like,
cool.
I now realize it's harmless. It's totally harmless. And seeing him passionate about something, somebody leaning into, and he's a fine artist.
Yeah.
So like,
he's an amazing artist. You showed me some of the stuff he drew.
And dude, the shit that he draws, if I drew that shit, my mom would have me fucking committed. She would have the elders try to perform an exorcism on me. Yeah. It's all so great. Like demonic imagery. It's all like these horrible, you know, horned creatures that look like they're from the bowels of hell.
I love it.
And he's like the sweetest, most sensitive kid, but he has that side to him. And it's like, you know, if I was to repress that, it would do horrible things to him. You know, he would wind up like me, just full of self-hatred, riddled with guilt and shame and fear that I'm doing wrong all the time.
Yep.
So I know that I can't squash that down.
No, let him do it.
You know, I'm not crazy with it. Like as much as I'm into hip hop, I'm not like playing Biggie Smalls for him, you know?
Right.
I don't want him listening to like, you know, when I met you, I admit my first thoughts was a trip. You look so good, I suck in your daddy's dick. He doesn't need to listen to that at 8 years old, but like, you know, in time.
In time. Yeah, that's more, let him hit double digits before he's listening to that. But I hope that he gets deep enough into it where he's like, you're like, what do you want for Christmas? And he's like, I want a switchblade comb and a bandana. Like I hope he turns into the kids that I used to be scared of at Roller Haven. Like the kids that when I was growing up, like the flannel wearing, cigarette smoking kids were the scariest, but also the most beautiful roller skaters. Like they owned the rink. It was just such a weird dichotomy. That's a show I want to make one day when the strike ends. But yeah, dude, I love that. I love that your kid is into that and found it himself. Like that's dope. That's really cool.
It's almost like he is the person that I could have been if I wasn't trapped in this bubble and I didn't have all my individuality, it's completely leached out of my system.
Yeah.
So it's like I gotta encourage that. I gotta lean into it. I gotta let him be him,
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought up psychedelics. So like, another thing I've thought is like, man, if my mom just did a couple of fucking mushroom trips, I don't think she would have had to, jump headfirst into a cult.
No.
She had found some level of self-acceptance, found some sort of greater connection to the universe, realized that everything's okay, let go of control, realize that you're, just one tiny speck of the universe. She wouldn't have had to do that. And I also I'm 89 days sober today. So I think my mushroom days are behind me.
Okay.
But
congratulations.
Thank you. I have done my fair share, and I don't think I would have even gotten to the place that I am today without that. It's kind of allowed me to incorporate this new mentality, shall we say?
Yeah.
But allowed me for these moments, allowed me to see myself clearly, which I didn't realize was clearly at the time, of like, okay, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not bringing reproach upon Jehovah's name with every thought and action, like it allowed me to accept myself. And thank God for that. Thank God for that. So what's been your experience?
Well, I did them carelessly a lot of my childhood, where it would not childhood, like college, like eat a handful of acid and drink a keg, because you could just stay up and drink, whatever, and giggle till you were like, falling apart. But lately, in the past probably 2 or 3 years, I've been doing them with like intent and purpose, and really doing work. Like I had a lot of work to do, and I had to go in and ride it out and come out the other end. And I'm talking like a year's worth of like, large dose mushroom trips, therapy, ketamine for treatment resistant depression. But the mushroom experiences that I've had have been literally life-changing, in the fact that you can take a thing that you thought was the biggest error or the biggest weight around your soul or whatever, and bring it down to this big, and then and it blows away, and you don't have it anymore. You don't feel it anymore. I remember I was with the woman who kind of like sat with me and guided me through a couple of these trips. And they were the first times I ever did large doses of mushrooms by myself, with someone just kind of sitting there to make sure I'm okay or whatever, And I remember I sat down on this like beanbag bed that she made for me, and I go, it feels good to have space. Normally my wife and my dog are sleeping on me, like on the couch. And she goes, you make them feel safe. That's why they can, lay there with you or whatever. And I like, my lips started quivering, and I was like, I make people feel safe? And I just, dude, like hours of sobbing off that one fucking dump. Like, I don't make people feel safe. You know what I mean? But something hit perfectly. And it was just like years of just like pain and sadness and whatever, just gone, just crying it all out, and just tripping through it and talking through it. And the power of these things and the clarity that it gives you. I mean, I think I came out of all of this realizing like all we have is love and fear. It's the only two ways to operate. I mean, literally I had like a thought of this during a trip one time where it's like, if you're operating from fear, you're not even available to all the love or that's around us. But if you're operating from love, like fear doesn't stand a chance. Like you look at fear and it's like that big when all your life it was like the biggest creature in the woods trying to kill you, and you just look at it and kind of giggle. It's like Waterboy when it's like visualize an attack and he like turns the coach's head into a baby's head. Like I'm able to do that with mushrooms and ketamine and meditation and therapy and all that. It's a whole thing. But perception is reality. And I think that we were handed a fucking bucket of guilt and a bucket of fear. And it was like, you know, carry this with you. And if you spill it, you're dead. You know what I mean? And it was just like, you felt weird telling anybody. You felt weird kind of sharing it. You felt weird enjoying things. And when you're able to kind of, you know, take these, you know, medicines or, you know, substances and let it all breathe for a minute, you kind of realize like, yeah, I am okay. I have been operating from fear most of my life, and now I'm seeing that there's another side to that coin, and it's just changed my life completely. And I think that the beautiful thing about what you said is like you're like 89 days sober, and like maybe your mushroom days are behind you. That's where I think it's not a drug, because and I'm not saying you should do. I mean, it's everything for everybody. But what I mean is that like, what other things do you don't drink a beer and go, you know what? I think I'm done with everything. You know what I mean? Like psychedelics give you this kind of like, yeah, I don't need anything else. Like I'm okay now. And you could walk away from it and, you know, you don't have to do it ever again. Or maybe in 3 years, you're like, maybe, you know, I want things to have that vivid brightness again or something. So and early on, I felt incredibly guilty. I would take it and think I was going to die just because I had that fear thing built in. But now I take it and it's like, you know, I've had some real bad ones, like pretty horrific trips. But, you know, you learn through these people who kind of do this professionally, like don't run from it, run towards it if you're having a bad experience. And to me, psychedelics are like you get on a plane and sometimes you get upgraded to first class and you get like your own row and they're bringing you drinks and your favorite movies on and you got all the blankets, but it's cool. And then other times you're in the back row in between like, you know, two screaming babies that are like shitting and pissing. Either way, like the plane has taken off and there's no like getting off the plane. So you just got to figure out how to get something out of both trips, you know? And
yes. What a perfect analogy. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I found ketamine to be very very mellow and very peaceful. That's been extremely eye-opening. I've been doing that recently, which is great.
Yeah. So that's great, man. I also have had some terrible trips, but the ones that I did most recently were not, you know, I got cocky with mushrooms. So the first time was with friends in a park. It was great. Oh my God, I got to do this all the time. I got cocky with them. I started doing them in bars while drinking. And then I just had like some schizophrenic breakdowns where I just had like this inner drill sergeant just screaming at me like, you can't handle your shit, you pussy, you fucking loser. And it's like, oh, stop yelling at me. So I had to swear off them completely for a couple of years. And then out of desperation, came back to them and was doing them, you know, would take a dose. I did an MDMA therapy once with a guide who kind of taught me through it. That was really, really helpful. Yeah. And then from that point, you know, I have a therapist, so I would do some doses of MDMA and mushrooms, just like take them, lie down, close my eyes, no distractions, just let myself sink into it. And there was some darkness for sure, but overall, all of those experiences where I really leaned into it, like you suggested, were all great. And what you said about love or fear, those really are the only two choices. And I realized I've been living my entire life out of fear. And there's a real kind of narcissism and egotism in thinking that you have control over these things that you have zero fucking control over. And, you know, what I'm a part of now, surrendering to a higher power, that was the one downside of doing these mushroom trips, is I would feel great for like a couple of weeks, and then these feelings of fear and self-hatred would slip back in. I was like, I need like regular daily maintenance, you know?
Yeah. Well,
and surrendering to a higher power now that I'm able to define on my own, you know, that's not this vengeful, punishing God that I grew up, you know, subservient to, and realizing I'm a part of something much larger, and not trying to will my way through things, and just kind of surrendering to what is and trusting his or her or its will for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's insane to have thought that I had so much control, and exhausting too. Exhausting to think, if I think these thoughts, I will prevent these bad things from happening. If I think these thoughts, I will manipulate this situation into happening, and you're just constantly trying to control and manage every facet of your life, and it leaves you feeling so fucking depleted. So like the fact that I have been able to, and it's still, you know, it's an uphill battle, but I have so much more energy than I have ever had in my entire life. I didn't realize how much that state of mind was just draining the fucking life out of me, dude.
Man, I'm happy for you.
It's killing me.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy for you, and I'm happy for you because I understand what you're saying, and I you know, I went through a pretty funky about a year, and I did the two bigger doses during that time, and I microdosed mushrooms regularly, like 4 days on, 3 days off, like during that time, and it was good, but also it kind of like, you got to be ready for the work that this stuff brings you. And I don't mean you, us, we, the royal we, have to be like ready for the work that this stuff brings us. And a lot of times it's like I went through a period where I was like waking up in the, like, you know, middle of the night, like gripping the bed, like drenched in sweat with just panic. And I was having like a physical version of like, you know, it started to manifest itself as like, you know, I was physically feeling the effects of this exhaustion and panic and fear and all that stuff. And I went to a doctor. I went to like a psychiatrist, and I wrote out everything that I was dealing with and feeling. And I, you know, went through an assessment with her, and she's like, you know, you have some PTSD from stuff that happened. You have some treatment-resistant depression and panic disorder and all this other stuff. And she's like, have you ever heard of ketamine for, you know, treatment of depression and stuff? And I was like, I'll try it because I don't know what I have left. Like, I really am exhausted. Like, I don't think I was suicidal, but I was just like exhausted with life. Like every day I would wake up exhausted, you know? And I went in, and, you know, you get a needle, and I'm petrified of needles. I passed out the first time I got it, and went through it. And you do 2 days a week for the first 4 weeks. And it was a different type of psychedelic experience. It was where I kind of like disassociate, where it was like I was able to kind of like leave myself and look at myself from an observational standpoint, dealing with my biggest fears and my biggest like hang-ups and whatever. And every time I left, I felt lighter, in this kind of like, none of this matters. Like, to me, the idea that like nothing matters is success. It's bliss. Because we know growing up, every fucking thing matters. You know what I mean? Like, and when you realize that freedom is freedom from like all of this nothing matters. Just be kind, be the best, you know, operate from love, not fear, and everything will be okay. You know, like, give things time, let things breathe, you know? And that's what I took from the ketamine experiences. And I came out of it, I must have done like maybe like, I don't know, 30 or 40 ketamine like trips or journeys or whatever with this. And I set up my therapy with my cognitive behavioral therapist, like literally right after the ketamine sessions. So I would be still kind of wide open, and I would talk to her. So it was a lot of work, but opening up with the psilocybin trips and then going into the ketamine therapy in conjunction with the talk therapy, I mean, man, I feel better than ever. And it's just that thing of kind of like, you know, I acknowledge that we have dents, and we've been dropped, and we've fucked up, and we've whatever, but it's like, it's not permanent. It's okay. Like everyone has, and we're all dealing with this crazy ass world. And I think being able to kind of like free ourselves of like that, constant fear and anxiety that maybe we were like, inadvertently brought up with or whatever. It's like, it's a nice feeling. It's a really nice to surrender to it and just to go like, okay, like it's going to come and go. It's not permanent. I'm not crazy. You're going to be okay, and you allow yourself to forgive yourself a little bit and accept yourself. And I don't remember feeling any of that from Lexapro or feeling any of that from Xanax or anything like that. It was the psychedelics, I think, with the therapy and the getting okay with talking about it, that really, I think, has helped me turn the corner. So I'm stoked that you're, feeling good and feeling like you don't need anything.
Thanks, man.
It's super cool.
It's, it's like I said, it's not to borrow certain phrases, but it is truly one day at a time. It changes from day to day. But I'm not afraid of my feelings for the first time. I know that they can pass. I don't have to try to numb them. I don't have to convince myself that they're wrong. But I'm glad you found such relief, man. And honestly, like, it takes a tremendous amount of courage just to take that leap. I know so many people, I'm sure you do too, that could benefit tremendously from mushrooms and ketamine, but they're afraid because they don't know what it might bring up. So they instead of jumping feet first into the fire and coming out the other side, they just stay in this kind of muted misery.
That's the devil, right?
And it's exactly. And it sucks, but like it takes tremendous courage to be like, this could be a fucking nightmarish experience, but I have to have faith that I will come out the other side happier and more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
So, but the fact, like your podcast,
well, I'd like to say first that
right?
Now I can finally say, like, before we get into that, I would just like to say I can finally admit that, like, Satan is my Lord and Savior. And I feel good to finally be able to, say that without, no, I'm kidding. That could be for the Patreon.
Yeah.
I don't think the devil subscribes to Patreon, right?
We'll do some virgin sacrifices on the Patreon. Why
Imagine
not?
if that was what happened. Imagine if we did psychedelics and it was just like the most loving and peaceful Satan, like, met you there. And he was like, I don't know why everybody thinks I'm such a dick, dude. Like, like he's just like, Satan's actually like the most misunderstood character in like the whole thing.
Yeah. Just giving everybody fist bumps with his hoof.
He's like, dude, you guys want you want a hard candy or anything? You want a fucking iced tea? I'm only kidding. He's not my savior.
Got seltzers in the fridge.
I got seltzers. I got
but
bubbly.
your pod. You've had. I saw you've had Paul Stamets on the.
Yeah, we just had him on again yesterday.
Man, that's a hell of a get.
Yeah.
For those, explain briefly who that is for those who don't know.
Well, the podcast is called Comes a Time, and I co-host it. Very lucky and honored to co-host it with my friend Oteil Burbridge, who's the bass player for Dead & Company. He was
again amazing.
Yeah, I had him on my old podcast Amigos, and it was right before the pandemic, and we hit it off immediately, talking about like this type of shit, to be honest. And like we were like, we should do something, but who has the time? And then the pandemic gave us the time, so we started the podcast, and luckily everyone was home, so nobody really had a reason to say no. So we had the chance to get like some of the most unbelievably important people that are like, our kind of theme of the podcast was like, what brought you to here and where do you go from here now? Like kind of a, and we've had Paul Stamets and Bob Weir. Paul Stamets is a mycologist, which is like he studies mushrooms. He's like a mushroom expert, and both psychedelic and otherwise. So he's doing amazing things. If you see the Netflix documentary, Fantastic Fungi, it's basically about him. One of my most enjoyed, the guest I loved having was Rick Doblin. Rick
MAPS, right?
MAPS. Yeah, he's the founder of the nonprofit organization MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies. And what he's doing is he's trying to get MDMA for PTSD approved by the FDA. And he's doing it in such a cool, badass way where he's like going to the Republicans that are like pro-veteran and saying, here's 1,000 veterans that are saying the only thing that makes them feel better is these MDMA and psilocybin and whatever else. Like, give us $10 million to research this. And they do it. Like, so he's figuring out how to like bridge, literally work across the aisles and help get this very important medicine like to the people who need it. And I was honored to go to talk at the Psychedelic Science Conference that they put on in Denver just about a month ago about everything we're discussing, how I like got through a lot of like hardcore depression and shit with the help of psychedelics. So we've had like amazing musicians on, we've had amazing comedians on, but it's really an honor. And we just had Paul Stamets on again for a second time, which should be coming out in a week or two. So, really incredible to be able to chat with the people. Like we get off our episodes and we're like, Jesus Christ, like what the hell? Like, it's amazing. Like, it's really wild. And Oteil's the man. And it's just so cool to be able to, talk to the people that we get a chance to talk to. We got a lot of cool guests lined up too. So it's gonna be great.
The fact that you grew up having a love for the dead, now you're hosting a podcast with a member, talking to fellow members, people that are specializing in the field of what brought you the most relief. That's incredible, dude.
Man, we had this guy, Richard Schwartz. We had this guy, Richard Schwartz, who developed, you should check this out. I think you'd love it. It's called internal family systems. It's a type of therapy. Like, he developed his own form of therapy. And it's like, basically, we're all made up of parts. And you have to like be able to converse with the parts and like let them know like, okay, like I'm not 6 anymore. You don't need to like protect me or whatever. It's wild. And like he did a session with Oteil like on our podcast, and it was like, it's pretty intense stuff. So yeah, we get into it. UFOs, freaking all of it. It's great.
Damn. So you are truly doing the Lord's work, man. This is shit that can actually help people. You're not putting, it's not fear mongering. No, you're not warning them of a fire and brimstone punishment if they don't fall in line and accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. You're encouraging people to become one with themselves, find self-acceptance.
I guess I never thought about it like that, but it's we have to take care of each other, right? I mean, I don't know. I definitely think nowadays we have to more than ever, and fuck it. I don't know. Growing up with that thing of kind of like spit on it, rub some dirt on it, don't bitch. Like, if that's being a tough guy, then I'm proud to be a wimp, like I'm honored to be a wimp. I don't care. Like no one should feel like they're going through all this garbage alone. And especially nowadays, so
yes,
you're doing the Lord's work, brother Doug.
Thanks, man. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to be the thing that I wish I had when I was growing up and had one foot out the door, but not knowing how to plan my escape. So
nailed it.
But thanks so much for doing this, man. And you got a special that's coming out soon, right? Couple weeks.
Yes, I recorded a special at Fairfield Theater Company called "Don't Let Me Down," and it's going to be out. I'm releasing it with 800 Pound Gorilla, and it'll be out on YouTube in probably like early to mid-September. So
awesome.
But I'm posting a ton of crap on the YouTube channel now, and we'll be honest, got to get the numbers up. So anyone listening, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and laugh at the forced crowd work that I'm putting up there now. And
well, great having you, man. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
There you go, folks. Mike Finoia. Give him a follow on Instagram at Mike Finoia, MikeFinoia. Check out the pod. Comes a time, the special Don't Let Me Down, dropping in September. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram if you're not doing so already, at WhoDougSmith. Subscribe to my YouTube, youtube.com/@WhoDougSmith. Join the Patreon, please, for the love of God, $5 a month. Early access to full ad-free video of every episode. Patreon.com/Jehovah Boy. And please be a part of the show. I've done a couple of listener email shows. One email listener show, but we got more in the chamber. We've done an AMA show, all thanks to you and your inquiries and your stories. So keep them coming. Email the show, please. JehovahBoyPodcast@gmail.com. You don't have to be a Jehovah's Witness. You can have any sort of insane religious affiliation. Any tale where your life was dictated by unrealistic and torturous allegiance to a god or a higher power of some sort. If you suffered in the process of your religious affiliation, I want to hear about it. Scientologist, Mormon, Christian Scientists, Children of God, Hasidic Jew, whatever the fuck it is. There's a lot of terrible religious cults and organizations out there. If you were part of one, I want to hear about it. And if you have questions about Jehovah's Witnesses, send them my way. I will answer your question. They may not be the right answer, but I'll do my best to answer them. So please email the pod, JehovahBoyPodcast@gmail.com, and you can be part of the show. Again, tell a friend, share a clip, feed the algo. Thanks so much for your support. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.